Hello and welcome to Across Louisiana. My name is Steve Sawyer, your host of the program. Today we've got a special Hurricane Katrina anniversary show. We're going to be talking to three people who were very involved during the storm and after the storm, and I think you're going to find this very interesting. Dr. John Steck is our first guest, and John is a neurosurgeon at the Neurological Clinic in West Jefferson Medical Center, and just a fascinating story that he's going to share with you about what they went through at West Jefferson during the storm, and just some amazing stories of bravery and just our doctors and nurses, and we thank them for what they did. David Spielman is a local photographer and photojournalist, and he is focusing on what he's calling his new book is The Katrina Decade, and it's more of the aftermath of the storm and where we are today. Some incredible photos. He's got an exhibit coming up. He's going to be talking about that. Finally, one of our dearest friends and just a treasure to the community, Kay Wilkins. Kay is the Regional Chief Executive Officer for American Red Cross, and everybody knows Kay and her commitment to the community and what she did and the Red Cross did for Hurricane Katrina. We just can't thank them enough. Again, across Louisiana, Steve Sawyer, we've got a really special show for you today and appreciate you watching. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Across Louisiana. This is our Hurricane Katrina anniversary show, and we've got guests today that are going to be talking about some of their experiences during Hurricane Katrina. Our first guest is Dr. John Steck. John is a neurosurgeon at the Culicchia Clinic at West Jefferson Medical Center. John, welcome to the show. Got a great story to tell. We were talking about that off camera a little bit. Talk, though, a little bit about, you've got a memorial service coming up on August the 29th. What's going to take place at that?
Well, West Jefferson's going to have a memorial service to just honor the efforts during Hurricane Katrina. The
hospital played a big role, and I don't think a lot of people really, you know of the stories with the Superdome, and you saw all the scenes on TV with, the horrible images and everything. Again, we were talking off camera. You had an instance that I think is just incredible, where you actually removed a bullet from a police officer's head, limited power. Talk about that experience and what that was like and what was involved, because I believe you mentioned that you were just on call that weekend.
Well, yes, so I was on call at the time of the evacuation, so I stayed at the hospital. Like everybody, we were hoping it was going to be a short stay. We had patients in the hospital to take care of, rounds and such. The first day, things didn't look too bad everywhere. And when the water broke, and the city started flooding, things got more serious. The second day after the storm, I had been uptown checking on my house, and I got back to the hospital. I got called to the emergency room. There's a police officer who had been shot in the head. And when I first saw him, he looked okay. He had a bullet entrance wound and an exit wound. He was wide awake, was acting normally. Mm-hmm. But very quickly he started drifting off and started losing consciousness. We would typically get a CAT scan. The hospital didn't have power for the air conditioning for a CAT scan. And so we did a skull x-ray. Skull x-ray showed that some of the bullet fragments were driven into the brain, so that we knew that he had a foreign body in the brain, was likely bleeding. So we took him to surgery and did an operation, a craniotomy, to remove a portion of the skull and remove the bullet fragments, stop the bleeding. And fortunately, he did quite well. He improved quite a bit. We kept him for another 24 to 48 hours at West Jefferson, and then they evacuated him to Houston for his further recovery, and he ended up making a quite nice recovery.
Yeah, now I got to admit, I just came out of some knee surgery, and we're talking today's air conditioning, and I mean, you didn't have these conditions after the storm. I know it had to have been hot.
The hospital was hot and was very
not
hot.
Ideal conditions.
Not ideal. The operating rooms were very hot. The pathologists had some portable air conditioners down in the laboratory that they needed to make sure that they could run all their tests appropriately. So we brought some of those up to the operating room to cool it off a bit for the operation.
Yeah. How many doctors and nurses were there during the time? Do you know? Estimated guess?
We probably had 30 or 40 physicians and probably 100 nurses.
And what would you have on a normal day, just today? I mean, you'd have a lot more than that,
A lot
right?
more than that,
Yeah.
yes, several hundred
So,
physicians.
I mean, did people come in knowing that the catastrophe had taken place? You had
We had,
people...
well, so we, the hospital housed a lot of special needs patients. And then we had tried to have a lowest census as possible prior to the storm, but we still had a fairly high census because, you know, as everybody remembers, on Thursday and Friday before the storm, things didn't look too bad. We didn't think we were going to get it.
Yeah, well, I'll never forget that. John, thank you for telling the story again. The anniversary commemoration is August 29th from 11 to 1. Is it at the hospital? Is it at West Jeff?
It's at West Jefferson.
Okay,
yes.
if you get a chance, inviting everybody to come out and see that. John, on behalf of the community, you know, thank you for what you did to stay behind. Again, the doctors and nurses, just, you never saw a lot of that. And the stories with our doctors and nurses who, that's what they do. I mean, that's what you guys do. You got to take care of people no matter what. So we thank you for taking time to come on the show and tell your story. We have a couple more guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Across Louisiana. This is our Katrina show. Very happy to have Mr. David Spillman on the show. David is a local photographer and photojournalist, and his newest book out is The Katrina Decade. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming.
It's my pleasure.
We were just talking off camera about some of your experiences and everything. This particular book, and we'll just briefly chat about your first one that you wrote with Katrina, but this one is following, this is more the aftermath, right?
Precisely. It's a continuum. We tend to do things because of our social media. If it's not trending, it didn't happen.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
I want to take a long view, just as the photographers did during the Depression and during the Dust Bowl era. So I've been documenting the city over the last 10 years. One of the great myths of the storm was that only a very small area was flooded. You and I both know that over 80% of the city was flooded. So in this book, you are going to see pictures from all over the city showing the devastation, how when you lose a big percentage of, or a percentage of your population, it takes time. And people tend to think that 10 years, oh, everything should be fixed.
Right.
It isn't. It's huge. Now, there's tremendous improvements and success, and we've come a very long way, but the work isn't over yet.
And to go with the book, you've got an exhibit coming up on August the 22nd. Talk about that, because it is free, open to the public.
Absolutely. The Historic New Orleans Collection is one of our truly great institutions, and they saw my work and said they wanted to do a book. There's 137 images in the book, but they wanted to do a show, and they wanted it to be their Katrina show. So there's going to be
all these images are shot by you?
75 images are mine. They'll be much bigger, so you can look into them and you can see some more things. It'll be down at their Charter Street at the Williams Center, Research Center, and it'll run from the 22nd all the way through the end of the year. And it will really, I think, enlighten a lot of people that have moved here and are visiting here to the total and the enormous destruction that took place.
Free and open to the public.
Absolutely.
And talk about the panel discussion. I think that's interesting.
Well, Jack Davis, one of the people that wrote a foreword for the book, is going to lead a panel discussion, and I'll be on the panel. And you know, we'll be talking about Katrina, the impact, and you know, my job as a photographer, I'm not supposed to point blame. All I'm trying to do is render the best possible image of the situation, leaving all of my biases out of it, because 5 years, 100 years from now, nobody cares what David Spielman thinks about. They just want to see what it looked like in New Orleans in 2015.
Does your book go, this is kind of a hard question to ask, but as far as the years, does it go up to 2015?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what I did was, it was interesting.
Are there before and after shots?
No,
and things?
no.
Okay.
You know, I'm not doing a comparison. I'm not trying to balance things.
Right.
But I started taking pictures a couple of years after the storm because I wanted the first couple of years to let people to regain and come back into the city. And then I would take these pictures, and then I would go by and see them again, and the vines, there's some pictures in here that'll turn a lot of people's heads, because the cat's claw has literally taken over the house. And you can't see the house, but you can see the shape of the house.
David, real quick, they're wrapping me up, but you do have a previous book, and that is titled?
The Katrinaville Chronicle.
Okay, and that's the actual storm.
That was, yeah, I stayed through the storm, and then, you know, a couple of 100 days after the storm, I was documenting.
Okay, I could talk to you for another 8 days, but we've got another guest, so we've got to go. I do appreciate you taking time. If you get a chance to come out, and I've looked through the book, the pictures are absolutely phenomenal, so this is definitely something you want to see. It's free and open to the public. We've got one more guest. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Across Louisiana. We always save the best for last, and we've done it again. We are so happy to have Kay Wilkins on the show. Kay is the Regional Chief Executive Officer for the American Red Cross, and Kay, everybody knows you, and we just can't thank the American Red Cross, not just because of what you guys did after Katrina, but you know, American Red Cross is that organization that of any organization, I mean, that's the one that you know you can depend on, and you just cover such a broad spectrum of everything. I was just talking on the show how we've always tried to get you on the show, and you told me you're actually filling in for somebody. So
well, we've been really busy. I guess the good news is we've been really busy.
Yeah.
The bad news is we've been really busy.
You've been really busy. So. Hey, we'll talk about some really busy stuff in a minute, but I do want to make sure you've got 2 big events coming up that I want to talk about. One is, it's the first time you've ever done this, and it's the Power of Women Luncheon on August the 21st. I've read a lot about it. It sounds incredible.
Yes.
So it is a fundraiser, right?
It's a fundraiser for the Red Cross. You know, as we were looking at the 10th anniversary of Katrina and the way that we could market, we felt it was a really good time for us to look at the powerful role that women played in helping shape our preparedness and our response and our community service in these years post-Katrina. So we reached out, we found 8 incredible women that we're going to honor during this day. And
now, do they know who they are?
They do. They did. They were just notified this past week.
I thought we could.
Yeah, I think you may have that, but we'll check that. But and then we reached out to Hoda Kotb and asked her if she would be our inaugural speaker, and she agreed without even thinking twice.
Great. That's awesome.
So my hats are off both to this incredible set of women, to our Tiffany Circle members who are our committee and who have helped us take an idea and move it into something that is becoming really the talk of the town. And we're really excited about being able to take some time, look at where we were 10 years ago, but also mark where we've come and how far we've come in helping keep our communities safe and better places to be.
And redcross.org is the website. All information on the luncheon can be found. Tickets, I mean, the event's not sold out.
It's not sold out. We'd love for it to be sold out. Yeah. So if you can help make us make it a sellout, this would be great.
I'll buy whatever tickets you don't sell. How's that?
I love that. We heard it here.
Yeah, you heard it here.
But yeah, you go to redcross.org and put in New Orleans, and you'll find our information.
And again, fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser. Okay. We're going to auction off wine. You know, Hoda loves wine, so we're going to auction off some magnums of wine signed by some really cool celebrities.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be great.
Real quick, because I also want to talk about Citywide Day of Service. That's actually on August 29th.
You know, I'm really proud to partner with the city. You know, 10 years ago, this city was, and all of us in Louisiana and the world watched as Katrina changed our lives forever. And this 10th anniversary is a time for us to really mark the way we've changed the way we work within our communities.
That's a very good point.
And this Citywide Day of Service is a way to do it. We have 6 different sites in and around the city. Persons can go online and can volunteer, register to volunteer. And in each of those sites, different nonprofits have been asked to host a day of service. Red Cross is going to host it. We're going to be doing 2 different things that day. We're going to be giving preparedness education to the kids through the form of a pillowcase, which was a project that began in New Orleans post-Katrina and actually has been taken all over the world. We're asking other Red Cross regions across the country to also have a pillowcase presentation on August 29th.
Okay. And
so
all of that, but they're telling me to wrap it up.
Oh, okay.
All of that is on the redcross.org website?
It is.
Again, Kay, thank you from all of us for all the work you've done. I know we as Cox, we were involved in a lot, and we had the opportunity to do a lot together, and just can't appreciate what you and the Red Cross have done. You've been watching a special Katrina anniversary show. We thank you for being a part of the program, and we will see you next time.